Well, how are things sitting right now with the global economy? We keep hearing the horror stories about fertilizer disruptions, famine, food shortages, everything else that could become as a result of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and this global war. Christine Lagarde, head of the ECB, she's not given to hyperbole. I mean, she's of course, in control of the largest banks and the European banking structure. Remember, she's famous for telling us that, she wanted us to move away from cash. Of course, in my mind, this is all about control. But here is Christine Lagarde talking specifically about food rationing and what is coming. Listen.
A third of the fertilizers is shipped through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, that is also at risk. And it matters particularly in the southern hemisphere, where the planting and therefore the fertilizers is badly needed now. I'm not saying that just out of interest for agriculture. Don't forget, I was Minister of Agriculture in France for a month and a half. But because it matters to me as a central banker now. Because if the price of food increases significantly, it is not going to just be the price of food, it is going to be inflation expectations. Because we know that people are particularly attentive to two things: the price of food, processed and unprocessed, and the price of gas at the petrol station. So here are three indirect consequences of what's happening in the energy world. So if the disruption persists long enough, the adjustment shifts from prices, which we are putting up with now, to possibly rationing, with very different economic consequences. Higher prices are primarily inflationary. Shortages hit output directly and are worse for growth. Overall, there have been so far limited signs of supply chain disruption, both globally and in the euro area. But local tensions are visible. Jet fuel prices have roughly doubled since the outbreak of the conflict, and rationing has been imposed at some individual airports in Europe since early April. And I'm not talking about what's happening in the rest of the world. I'm just back from the IMF and the World Bank spring meetings, like many of you, and you might have bumped into colleagues from Asia, in particular some of the low-income countries are.
Hey, Shalom, Makim, Shalom. First thing and foremost, I'm going to give all praises and glory and honor is due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Chakadash. I'd like to give double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone and rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Those in the gospel, God, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit. It says food rationing and lockdowns are here. Professor Jiyoung on depression that's coming, redacted news. And this is, she said she was what did she say? Not a banker, but she's basically a lower level luminary. And she's breaking down how the fertilizer coming from the East, the Middle East, and direct war with Iran is causing a shortage in global supply chains and how that's used to feed the world. As we know, certain countries are in energy lockdowns because ration out energy and food sources and so forth. Ultimately, people are running scarce, things are running thin. All right, and she's basically spelling that this will be a disaster for here in the West because, see, what they're orchestrating is a manufactured famine. Okay, and this is why we tell you people all the time that when famine hit, there's going to be unprecedented levels of destruction. Because, see, the people here in the West, they're not used to dealing with the famine. They're not used to dealing or going without. So you see people taking to these particular platforms and they're going to TikTok and they're raging over certain things about not having jobs and all this other shit. They're not used to the being without. So when this hits full-fledged in the West, when the collapse and the economic downturn finally manifests its rear head, people are gonna lose it, man. And this is what she's saying. This thing is real close. They're talking about sometime in May, we could possibly see the last shipping of fuel. As you know, you have crude oil, you have diesel fluid, you have all that shit here that's getting ready to hit an all-time high, man. when these fertilizer prices starts to go up and people can't garden and they can't farm and they can't do what's required to sustain their farms and their livelihoods, you know, they say when people ain't got nothing to lose, they lose it. So we're in those times, man. And Professor Gianchi broke it down perfectly. Okay? So anyway, here we go, a little more.
Emerging market economies that are taking a much more severe hit than us and are moving into rationing.
Yeah, so Asia moving into food rationing and fuel rationing. Lufthansa yesterday announcing the cancellation of hundreds of flights because they don't have the fuel for it. And then the fertilizer moving through the Strait of Hormuz. Like, are people taking this seriously? And you hear just in her...
And the question is, answer to that question is no. People are not taking it seriously because people are lackadaisical. Okay, these people are fucking stupid. They're dumb. All right, they're still getting up and they're going to work and they're sleepwalking right into a new world order. Because what we're witnessing with them destroying our oil supply chains and in particular oil processing plant, they're destroying these things because for the simple fact they're bringing, this is the great reset. Okay, that's all it is a great reset. And this is what they do, you know, to overthrow and this current world to bring in a new, which is going to be fueled by the RFID chip.
Waste. I mean, as a central banker, she doesn't want to scare people, but she's kind of, you can hear it there, that they're all the signals. She's basically pointing out all of the signals. We're back with Professor Jiang to talk about the global impact of this war in Iran. Professor, what do you make of Christine Lagarde's message there, and do you see a much bigger problem emerging?
Yeah, I think she is forewarning a major catastrophe approaching the global economy that's going to come very soon. So she points out 1/3 of the world's fertilizer passes through the Strait of Hormuz. And most people don't appreciate this, but fertilizer is what feeds the world. So without fertilizer, the globe...
And this dude, he's been on point. Like, he's been on point. You know, part of me feel like he's an insider. He kind of knows because, I mean, he's spot on point. But then when you look at history and you go into the Third Reich, time of World War II and World War I, and you look at, you know, then rationing and economic downturns, it's kind of the same trend, you know? It's kind of the same thing. That's why we always say Esau, he used the same formula, same playbook, just different scenarios, and he utilized the same strategy all the time. Because, I'm sorry? Oh, nah. Kevin, nah. You could probably go around in the front, and he'll probably come to the front.
Can't get in here? Can I get in here?
You got to go around, dog. Go around to the front. Yeah, you go up the stairs, just make a left, and then there'll be security check you in. Yeah. Say employee interest on the fucking door, dumbass. Read. Anyway, so going back to the time of the Third Reich, you know, with Germany and these other nations with HITLER and all this other shit, it's all propagated, man. It's the same playbook. This dude is not original, you know?
Earth could sustain one or 2 billion people. 2 billion people, if you're optimistic. So basically, we're able to have 8 billion people on this planet because of fertilizer. Now, if you take out fertilizer out of the equation, this means that a lot of people are going to starve. There's no way around it. So this brings up a much bigger point, which is people don't appreciate the fragility of the global economy. We use something called a just-in-time supply chain system. So there's very little inventory, there's very little resilience. The system doesn't know how to cope with setbacks, with delays. It's designed to be as quick and as efficient as possible in order to maximize benefit for the consumer. So this system was not designed to be resilient, it was designed to be efficient. And this is going to cause a lot of problems for the world. Another point that I will make is that these policymakers...
Yeah, it's going to cause shortages, it's going to cause inflation. So it'll be hyperinflation. And all this is done by design, man. All right?
know that this catastrophe is coming. And the thing about policymakers is that they don't let a crisis ever go to waste. And policymakers are first and foremost concerned about how to create more control over people, how to create an AI surveillance state. And if you talk about rationing, well, what comes naturally with rationing is basically digital currency and digital ID, right? Because think of communism, think of Marxism, think of a command economy where, because there's so little food, because there's food scarcity, there's fuel scarcity, well, we have to ration this, so we have to basically give you coupons. And we do that digitally through digital currency. And so think of more control, think of more financial repression, think of possibly economic collapse.
$5 a day invested for 1 year, and you could have $1,900. $5 a day.
So, I'm
So anyway, let me get a precept real quick. And we warn people about this. So this is the book of Proverbs 1, and I'm gonna start at verses 27. It says, "And when your fear cometh as a desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you, then they shall call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me." Okay, because we've been out here, we've been speaking on these things. The apostles, first and foremost, give credit to where credit is due. They brought a lot of this information out. And, we follow suit through the Holy Spirit and our own research. And, the scriptures concluded that this was the truth. And, people then scoffed at it. They talked shit. They mocked. We were called conspiracy theorists. People didn't take us seriously. But now you're getting ready to inquire about the men in the Lord. All you naysayers out there. Because, see, once this hit a town near you, and once your job is depleted and you don't have the money to feed your families and pay your bills, and go on your little luxury vacations and all this other stuff, man, that's when you people are going to be searching for answers, but you're not going to be able to find them in the Lord, because see what they're getting ready to do. They're getting ready to take people off these platforms that's against this system, that's speaking out against it. All right, we brought out the lesson the other day about how biometrics will be required for us to utilize these platforms. So all that's coming down the pipe: famine, pestilence, all right, warfare, regional wars, civil war. Allegedly, remember Trump was talking about deploying, I believe, like 500 troops to all 50 states, and they was mentioning how ICE, and it was like another military, I don't know if it was the IDF or whatever, but it was like another foreign military they call the peacekeepers, known as the UN, that they have set up right under they're right in your face. And people don't even realize when they get the call to activation of duty, when these things hit here in the West, the peacekeepers, they're called there for a reason. So expect troops to be on your streets, man, policing you and giving you certain orders over certain jurisdictions. And if you ain't got that mark, you ain't gonna be able to, you ain't gonna be able to get to move around nowhere. In fact, you'd be better off in a concentration camp, man. Okay.
I'm trying to extrapolate what this will be the lived experience for us, because the Wall Street Journal recently reported that the Pentagon was approaching American companies like Ford and General Motors to shift factory capacity towards.
Yeah, it's called a wartime economy, when they halt normal production and then they start making weapons for war. They showed you that in World War II, man. Those internment camps in Germany, hell, even the Japanese, man. Yeah, what they call a wartime economy, when they stop the halting of natural. I mean, they still produce things for the economy, but a wartime economy is when you're making goods for war. Weapons and tanks and particular components for certain missiles. That's a wartime economy, and technically we're in a wartime economy, and this is why General Motors, Ford, they're hiring now, because people are getting ready to have to be productive for the war, because World War III. That's why Trump is talking about bringing back a draft in December. Hell, Palantir, they talking about, look, we need to bring back a draft. You see? So yeah, man, we close. Why you stupid ass people in America sitting up here thinking your everyday job is gonna give you the benefit that you need? Nah, bro. You people are cooked.
Weapon making.
Matter of fact, Salakia, I'm still reading the scriptures. And it says, "And when your fear coming as a desolation, and your destruction coming as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish coming upon you, then they should call upon me, but I will not answer. They should seek me early, but they should not find me." Yeah, you're going to seek the Most High through the men in the Lord, and we're not going to be nowhere to be found. Okay, because the Heavenly Father, like it tells us in the book of Ezekiel, he's going to cause our tongue to cease, meaning that we're not going to prophesy. Okay, and even if we're speaking, we're not going to prophesy to you people. It's just going to be the hell with you. All right, because see, Jake is in the business of procrastination, man. That's what niggas do. They like to procrastinate until they can't do it anymore. That's what the Lord says, seek him early, that he may be found. And it says, and they should call upon me, but I will not answer, and they should seek me early, but they should not find me. It says, for they that hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of Yahweh, it says, they would none of my counsel, and they despised all my reproof. Yeah, they didn't take heed. They didn't take heed to the fuck? They didn't take heed to the prophets. Okay, they didn't take heed. Like I mentioned, they scoffed, they talked shit, they mocked us.
They can ask them nicely, but they also can use the Defense Production Act to require companies to prioritize and accept government contracts. And Secretary of War Pete Hegseth had said, this is to put us on a wartime footing. So that doesn't mean live your lives, we're going to go to war, it's all good. It's you will live in a wartime footing. And so what was the lived experience during World War II for Americans is Rosie the Riveter, the woman goes to work, and food shortages and food rations. And it was not optional. So there is precedence for this. It's not hysterical to think that we are being pushed towards this, right?
Yeah, no, I think history might repeat itself. So what led to World War II was, first of all, 1929 stock market crash, where billions of savings were wiped out. We might see a similar situation where the stock market collapses, and possibly there is a cyber attack, a cyber false flag attack on the nation's financial data centers. So all that money you have in the bank might be wiped out, and you can blame the Iranians for that, even though it may not be the Iranians. This will lead to a depression in America, where people become desperate for jobs, where people.
Yep, and that's where we at. We on the precedence of people being desperate for jobs, because the economy, people still got their jobs now. People still going to work, but one day things are just gonna halt. It's gonna cease to exist. All right, Ezekiel 7, and I'm gonna start at verses 10. It says, "Behold, the day, behold, it come. The morning is gone forth, and the rod have blossomed, bride have budded." Pride. People are very institutionalized due to their pride, man. Meaning in this mindset of they have it. Nothing is going to happen here. But yet, when you see the people, they're clearly depressed, man, because they don't have no hope in the system. And it says, violence is risen into a rod of wickedness. None of them should remain, nor their multitude, nor any of theirs. Neither shall there be welling for them. Yeah, because when you people start getting jacked up, nobody's going to come to your aid. All right? Nobody gives a damn about people. You Americans have had it good. Okay, you don't really know shortage. Yeah, you may have a shortage here and there, but as a collective, you've never went without. This is why the scriptures call you the people at rest, man. And it says here, the time has come, and the day draweth near. Let not the buyer rejoice, nor the seller mourn, for the wrath is upon all the multitude thereof. It says here, for the seller shall not return to that which was sold, although they were yet alive. It says, for the vision is touching the whole multitude thereof, which should not return, neither should they strengthen themselves in the iniquity of his life. So, yeah, all of the folly and the way you people lived your lives, that ain't going to strengthen you, man. Your basketball contract or your college degree is not going to put you in the best predicament. Pretty good. How you doing? All right. It's not going to put you in the best predicament, man. So let that be the tale.
Become desperate for food, the American government can now step in and create a command economy, just like what they did in the 1930s, right? Roosevelt's New Deal, and then the economy switches to a wartime economy where you are making drones, weapons, and munitions for all these wars overseas that America has to fight in order to ensure it has control over the world's oceans and resources.
I mean, everything you're talking about is already coming to fruition, right? I mean, a $1.5 trillion wartime budget at the Pentagon under President Trump, the move towards digital currency, the House resolution that's now coming forward. We've covered it here on the show about this new digital ID that would be required to sign into the internet, basically, as an age verification. They tell us it's about safety, but it's all about control. This is the control grid that's coming right before our eyes. And we're just like walking blindly right into it right now in the United States.
Right. So there are two major pieces to this AI control grid, right?
Yeah, because the scriptures call us people, the land of people there at rest here. It's the book of Jeremiah 49 and 30. I think it's, hold on. Jeremiah 49:31, it says, arise and get you to the wealthy nation that dwelleth without care, says Yahweh, which neither have bars, gates, nor bars, which dwell alone. Yeah, it says the wealthy nation without care. These people don't have any care. That's why it says they sleepwalking right into the New World Order. These people have no self-awareness. They have no immediate urgency. You know, as long as they got the job and a car they want and they can go out on the weekends and turn up at the club, that's all they care about. You know, we got March Madness. We got Monday Night Football. You know, bread and circuses. But when they cut the bread and circuses and really they take away their social media life, that's when things are going to really start to rear its ugly head. And it says, and their camel should be a booty, and the multitude of their cattle was spoiled. Yeah, your country is being bought out by lobbyists, man. It says, and I will scatter into all the winds them that are in the utmost corners, and I will bring a calamity from all sides thereof, says Yahweh. Okay?
The first is you would need an enforcement mechanism, and this would be ICE. Do you really need soldiers with machine guns in the streets to deport illegal immigrants? Obama was able to do so without soldiers. He did it just through cooperation with local law enforcement, right? So I think the ICE, it's meant to be almost like a Gestapo, a part of a secret police, in order to control the lives of people. Their budget is like, I think projected to be $90 billion. That's a lot of money to get rid of illegal immigrants. So I think ICE is one piece of the puzzle. The other piece of the puzzle is Operation Stargate, where the government has dedicated $500 billion to building data centers all around America.
Was full good?
Listen, these data centers are not for having an AI girlfriend or for helping you cheat on your homework. They are part of the control grid. Right? So look, you look at companies like OpenAI, they don't make money selling chat services to people. But Son Altman seems to be very confident that he'll be very successful. So I think he knows something that we don't know.
Oh, it's deeply, deeply troubling. You talked about also, well, we mentioned it before the show, which is the oil refineries. So, I mean, what is going on here? I don't know if you have the answer to it, but we're now seeing, I mean, dozens of oil refineries around the world, many of them in BRICS-aligned nations.
Yeah, a lot of oil refineries are being destroyed too.
As you saw in India, one of the President Modi of India was about to have the inauguration of this brand new oil refinery, and the day before it goes up in flames. So all of the oil refining capacity is being taken offline.
And that's going
What
to
is
cause
going on?
prices to skyrocket eventually in the West because they're destroying the oil refineries. This man is stupid, man. He has to be taken out of power. Okay, you literally destroying the world's resources and thinking you're getting ready to set up a new world order, dealing with your AI, Palantir systems, and everything being ran artificially. You dumb as fuck, man, because you're going to need some human reasoning and logic in order to run a global economy, you dumb fucking idiot. But instead, you want to manufacture everything through fucking robots. You'd rather put $1 billion into automation before you actually pay somebody a livable salary. What kind of fucking devil are you, man? This is why the Most High is bringing confusion upon you, bro. This is why your ass is getting destroyed, man. This is why you over there in the Middle East getting, you and your small head buddies, man, the tiny tops. You fucking devils got a rude awakening coming, and the Most High is gonna fucking bring you down. And we gonna put you goddamn devils right in slavery where you belong. Thus says Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, because the earth is sick and tired of your ass, man. And we're fucking tired of you, and the Heavenly Father is tired of your ass. These fucking devils gotta be put in fucking slavery, man. Look at the way they're doing earth. This nigga go down there and start a war for fucking nothing, man. And I get it, you know, we're not fretting at it because it's prophecy, it's prophetic. But when you look at the logic of it, it was no reasoning behind it. He just did it because it's just what the fuck the devil does. You know? Just make everybody's life miserable just because you the damn devil, man. Oh, let's go fly around the moon and drop space junk in the earth when in a space, so therefore people could get sick. You building up data center. People down south are complaining. They sued Elon Musk, I think one of his companies, because they mentioned that the data centers is putting pollutants and poisons in the air. And they deliberately built that shit in Jake's neighborhoods, man, or in the inner cities or whatever the fuck they put it. You know, this fucking devil, you could build a data center out in the middle of the no fucking where and be okay. Or you could put them in Antarctica, man. There's a lot of water resources up there, but no, he wants to build the shit right in the city so rents can go up Water goes up. You got certain states rationing out water right now because they're running out of fucking water, man. Like, how the hell do you run out of water? The earth is 70% of water. How in the fuck do you run out? Golly, man, this nigga gotta go, bro. He's a fucking cancer. And all you niggas out there that say that these people can be saved, may Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah Shalak Rayim to every last one of you demons out there that's trying to say the heathens, man. May the Most High destroy you and visit you speedily. Thus says Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, man.
Right. So I think there's a combination of war. So a lot of the refineries that are being destroyed are because of war, right? The Americans attacked the natural gas fields of Iran. And the Iranians responded by attacking the natural gas fields of Qatar. So war is a factor. Another factor is just accidental malfunction. So because of energy shortages, these refineries have to maximize output, and so it's possible they neglect safety measures because they're at capacity. That's a second factor. Now, the third factor is just sabotage, right? So if you look at the Australian Geelong refinery fire, that is deeply suspicious. They say it was an accident, but people locally said that this was probably sabotage. So these three factors going on, right? War, accidents, and sabotage. One thing that I will say is that if you're trying to change...
And it is sabotage. It's Habakkuk too. It's all sabotage, bro. You know, it didn't have to go down that way, but, you know, dealing with Esau, this is what you get. You can't put nothing past the devil, bro. You know? Going back to Ezekiel, it says here, verses 13, for the seller shall not return to that which is sold, although they were yet alive. For the vision is touching the whole multitude thereof, which shall not return, neither shall any strengthen himself in the iniquity of his life. It says, they have blown the trumpet even to make all ready, but none go to the battle. For my wrath is upon all the multitude thereof. So the Heavenly Father is getting ready to swallow all this wickedness, man. All right, America is getting ready to be a whole unrecognizable. It's really a city. This is one big city. It's getting ready to be unrecognizable, man, because we're pretty much a third world country now. You know, we're a third world country with luxury. You know, you still got the Cadillacs and the nice homes and shit, but you can't afford them. And it says, the sword is without, and a pestilence and a famine within, and he that is in the field should die with the sword, because food shortages, right? And he that is in the city, famine and pestilence should devour him, but they that escape of them should be on the mountains, like doves of valleys, all of them mourning, everyone for his iniquity. All right, so these people, man, they ain't ready. All right, all these demons, these proud, these women, y'all not ready, man. All right, you're not ready, and the Spirit of the Lord is not with you people. And it reads, and it says, and all hands should be feeble, and all knees should be weak as water. Yeah, because they're frightened. Then they're not ready for it. They never seen anything as such. Okay, when the Great Depression came in 1929, you had people in the fucking soup line, man. That was unheard of, because you literally had steel tycoons making millions of dollars during the time of the first industrial revolution with the steamliners and shit, you know, the conveyors and you know, the manufacturing. They was making $1 million in 1929, you were winning. But they went from rags to riches, man. And a lot of them oil tycoons from the early 1900s, when the Great Depression hit in the 20s and 30s, hey, they went from rags to riches overnight, man. There's a big wealth transfer. The same thing is happening now. Okay, they just been propping this dollar up so long, so this war is set up to kill the dollar. All right, and I'm going to end it after this, and it says here, and they should gird themselves with sack of cloth, and horror should cover them, and shame should be upon all faces, baldness upon all heads, and they should cast their silver in the streets, and their gold should be removed, and their silver and their gold should not be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of Yahweh, and they should not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowels, because it is the stumbling block of their iniquity. So, yeah, man, these people getting ready to catch it. But with that, all praises and glory and honor that is due to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Hashem Rakak Wadash, Lord's will, you will edify. Until the next lesson. Shalom.
You really need to better control your people. And quite honestly, from the perspective of the elite, the peasants have become too arrogant. The peasants have become too uppity. And so you need to make them much more anxious. You need to make them much more desperate. And so it's important to manufacture economic calamities in order to make them more obedient.
Well, that's what Colonel Towner Watkins says, and she's brilliant, and she talks about she talks about this as the strategy of tension. And these left behind armies, these NATO leave behind armies that have created this strategy of tension. You create this tension on purpose in order to agitate and control. It's all about control.
It's psychological warfare. They've been doing this for decades. And so think of the color revolutions in the Middle East, right? So they have